Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is a Cluster API Officer meeting. Today is Wednesday, 24 September. Before starting, just a quick reminder that we abide to CNCF Code of Conduct. As usual, at the beginning of the meeting, we give room to new attendee to introduce themselves. So if you are a new attendee, please use the raise hand feature and say hi to everyone. Okay, so looks like that there are not many people on the agenda that are all well-known names, so I think we can move on. Open proposal readout. Mike, if you don't mind scrolling up to open proposal, thank you very much. Okay, we have 3 open proposals. One is propagate tains from machine templates down to node. I don't know if there are updates. I added a comment. I took a look at the PR, so it looks like PR is not being touched by a long time, and there are open comments, and so I just dropped a note asking Nolan if he can clean up the state of the proposal. And also before the summer break, we had a chat about making this proposal complementary to the metadata propagation story, and it looks to me that this discussion topic has not been addressed. So I'm asking Nolan basically for an update before making another pass. Okay, then I think that we have, so the other proposal, independent work topology. We chatted a little bit last week. I don't know if someone had a chance to provide feedback or not.
It looks like no new comments.
Okay, yeah. See, as a maintainer, we are trying, to get down the pipeline one at a time. So one step at a time. So we will get there. Next up is a proposal for external CI, and the same apply. So I don't know if there are updates from the authors. No, looks like there are no new commit, so I think we can move on unless someone from someone of the folks working on this proposal has update. Okay, let's keep rolling. We can move to today's discussion topic. Mike, you have one.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a follow-up on where we are with this bug. I had posted a PR to fix it, and unfortunately, as an implementation detail of how I propose fixing this, it involves updating an interface that, as you can see, touches a lot of places in the cloud provider. And so this is causing a little bit of, this is the function that we're adding. This is node candidate for scale down, and we add it to all the different cloud providers. But in the discussion, there seems to be a little bit of back and forth about, is this the best way to do it? And should we be adding this function here? There's been a great discussion ongoing. And so in order to kind of respond to some of the comments, from Alexandra, I am going to put together another version of this patch that I think can be done in a different way. So essentially, and apologies for going deep into the autoscaler here for a minute. The cluster autoscaler has something that it calls processors. And these processors get invoked in various stages of the autoscaler's activity. One of them is called the scale down candidates processor. And you can see there's different types of processors here, right? Like some of them handle if there's a delay that should be observed when starting a pod. And, there are other ones, just different types of processors. But these processors are kind of open. And so you can register new processors that could be added here. And so what I'm going to try to do is make a change to the autoscaler that would allow the providers to be able to inject custom processors if they need to. And I'm going to give this a test. And what I think that will allow us to do is instead of creating instead of creating all the changes that I'm proposing in this PR, this would scope it much tighter. It wouldn't require adding a new interface, but it would require injecting a little new information into the provider. And then each provider could choose to implement processors or not. And then what I would do for the cluster API version of this is I will go into, we did some great work here, like Stefan did some great work putting together these kind of is machine deployment rolling out, and rolling out. I'll inject this into our custom scale down processor so that we could have the same logic. And what happens is that for every node that's being proposed for scale down, the custom processors get applied to that node to see if the node is still valid. So I think this would allow us to solve the problem without necessarily needing to introduce a new interface function. So yeah, I'm working on that patch now. I'm going to post them both at the same time, but I just wanted to keep people aware because I know like the current patch we have is working, but I'm having a little trouble getting it merged in the upstream or in the autoscaler repo there. So I'm going to try and work up another patch just to see if the maintainers, if they have a preference for one over the other. I guess, does anybody have questions about this or, about the problem or anything?
Uh, no, I see the struggle when you have to get agreement from so many folks. Uh, I j- I just assumed that this was not a problem because there are already other interface. So the cloud provider interface is not small, and there are already
Right,
similar function at node level.
right.
So let me say, it's not that it is the first time that this interface is being approved or not, or we are adding too much additional complexity. But I understand. So I think that what we are proposing, at least, it totally makes sense to me. You are looking for another way to to achieve the same goal without needing to ask basically approval from 20 people, which makes sense.
Right, right. And you get, like, and this, it all comes down. I think you're right. I think we've tried to be as surgical as we could in terms of not expanding the interface in ways that would, be deleterious, right? So we kept it confined to just this activity. This is the impact. But you're right. What's causing problems is that in order to get this PR merged now, I need to get approval from all these different providers because I need to make
Yeah.
changes on them. So I'm investigating if there's another way. I think there might be a less invasive way to do the same thing, basically.
I don't know if you remember where we were or if it was discussed, but one way to do this is to, instead of extending the interface, you can define another interface and check if the cloud provider implements it.
Oh,
I think that the first prototype from Stefan was using this approach. So it is, it is just instead of adding the method of cloud provider, you introduce a new interface, which is, I don't know, extend the cloud provider or cloud provider that can select a node or whatever is the name, and then check if it implements. Stefan, maybe you can want to like to comment on this.
Yeah, I basically had some version of this, but instead of actually finding an additional interface, I was basically using like an anonymous interface.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that would definitely help to avoid having to modify all the providers. But of course, in some sense, conceptually, it extends the concept of cloud providers, and this is like another thing that people can implement or not, right? But I think that improves is that you will only have to adjust one provider, not all of them. I'm just wondering if like we start using that pattern and then extending further and further, you end up with like 10 interfaces at some point, right? For like this optional stuff. But it would definitely reduce the amount of changes in that PR.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, Let me say, it is an option. I think it has some downside, and Stefan explained it very well. I see also the potential of of using processors, because it is an already existing and accepted extension mechanism. So if we can use it, why not? I think that when I was playing with the solution together with Stefan, I was not aware of this. I don't know if Stefan was aware. So it is why we did not consider
No,
it.
no, yeah. They're buried deep within the code, and like the way that they work, they get applied in many different situations. Like, so finding them and then figuring out how they're injected is not easy. But what I think there is a way that we could expose access to all these processors through an interface and then allow the cloud providers to like I guess I don't want to get too complex into it, but like when building a cloud provider, um, we use this, the main function wants to use this generic new cloud provider, right? And it passes in this options here. And I think there's a way that I could change this structure that gets passed in, so that the old ones would still work, but providers could choose to take the new structure if they wanted to, which would be an extension of the old structure. And then I could pass the processors through that. And then any cloud provider that wanted to during their initialization could inject processors. And I'll start with just the scaled down processor to keep this as focused as possible. But I think that actually gives providers more power in the future, because then providers have the ability to inject all sorts of processors, like scale up processors, custom hardware processors, all those kind of things.
Sounds great.
So, yep, that's where I'm at. Hopefully I'll have something, and I'll give an update next week and just letting people know what my progress is and everything.
Thank you very much, Mike. Is there some other question, follow-up question from Mike? Okay, so I take the opportunity to ask everyone kindly to add themselves to the meeting agenda so we keep track of who joined. We are at the end of our agenda, so it is very light today. Is there some topic that someone want to talk about? So I give a very quick update about the two efforts that I'm mostly involved: chained upgrade um, and in place. So with regard to chained upgrade, we merged a first PR. This first PR basically implements the core capability of chained upgrade and skip upgrade. So the PSA for the team is, if you are interested to chained upgrade and skip version upgrade, stuff like that, it is already possible to test the core mechanism without fancy stuff like addition new webhooks, etc., etc. The core mechanism is there. Not everything, but the core mechanism is there, and it will be great if someone look at this and give and basically help out in testing. With regard to in place, yeah, making some progress. We are nailing down details. I think that maybe one things that must be shared with the community is that we are getting to an agreement on the fact that in place must be considered like any operation that leads to that can impact the viability. And in other words, so if you are in a cluster that has max availability 0, and you go through an in-place upgrade, you need first to create a new machine to create a buffer to do in place. If instead the user accept the risk that in place bring in and declare max availability 1, you don't need to create a machine for getting started with in place. Yeah, we are discussing this in the team. It looks like that there is a general agreement. Maybe I will try to write it down in a more formal way somewhere and share with the audience. But since we have time, I brought it up now, and let me know if you have feedback or are more interesting in this topic. Stefan?
I think we can essentially, at some point, definitely feed this back into the in-place proposal, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Then we have like that one place that over time, eventually consistent documents our, no, I mean, eventually it will converge for implementation, and then we have that one page that describes it all.
Yeah, no, yeah, as usual, propose our living document, and we try to keep them updated. This is something that is coming up in the discussion. We are experimenting on it in a prototype for the new rollout behavior. As soon as consolidate it, updated documentation will be a task. Yeah, I was thinking about sharing a early version of this specific.
Yeah. Okay.
Specific
and I was
point.
just thinking potentially. I mean, it's always the question if that's the right medium and works well, but potentially it could be like a PR to the update proposal to refine some aspects of it or add some additional reasoning where that could be happen. But maybe it doesn't fit well.
Yeah, let's see. As soon as you know better than me, we are exploring 2 or 3 or 4 key topics. As soon as we have a clear understanding of the detail of the path forward, yeah, making this PR could make sense at all. Yeah, agreed. Okay. So if there are no other topic, we can have some time back today. Going once, twice. Enjoy your rest of the day. See you in 1 week.
Thanks, Fabrizio.
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, Fabrizio. Later, everybody.